Praise be to Jesus. Hi everyone, Charles here with you. Well, we're going to do this video here a little bit differently. I'm going to read some of the article. You're not going to see scrolling words, but what you will see are places that have certain comments that the Pope made yesterday. So let's begin. Pope Francis said Wednesday that slander is a diabolical cancer that seriously damages the church. We know that slander always kills. This diabolical cancer, which arises from the desire to destroy a person's reputation, also attacks the rest of the ecclesial body. Pope Francis said September 25th in his general audience in St. Peter's Square. Now we're going to go through three specific comments here that he made, and we're going to see how they fit together. Now keep in mind that he made these comments to a general audience in St. Peter's Square. These aren't comments that are based on a gospel reading in a homily during the Mass. So he's trying to say something very specific here, and I think I know what it is. Anyway, I'm going to present it in the way that I see it. So we'll continue here. So here's the first statement here. The Pope warned that slander seriously damages the Church when there is a coalition to smear someone due to petty interests or to cover up their own inadequacies. Now, look at this word coalition. And what's a coalition? It's a group of people or a group of organizations that have a common goal that work together. So he's certainly not talking about, individual slandering of one person to another. He's talking about a group, and I believe he's talking about what he considers to be the coalition of traditional Catholics who actually speak up, especially, mostly on the internet. And then he says, due to petty interests. Now, I mean, if I'm correct in what I just said, then he's calling our interests petty. And this is a real slam here. Okay, well, we'll go on to the next. We could sit and talk about, or I could sit and talk about this, but, I think you get the idea of what's going on here. Okay, now let's look at this statement. To avoid rash judgment, everyone should be careful to interpret, insofar as possible, his neighbor's thoughts, words, and deeds in a favorable way. Paragraph 2478 of the Catechism of the Catholic Church states. Well, I'm sorry, Pope Francis, we just can't do that. When you take 2,000 years of the deposit of faith that's been handed down to us, which we cherish immensely, and you basically throw it in the garbage can to make up your own church and to use Catholicism to do that, we just can't see this in a favorable way. All right, so now he goes on to talk about the martyrdom of St. Stephen and Christ. And, this is a little wordy here. I'm not going to read this. If you want to read it, you can go to the article. The point I want to make is that it's not the first time that he's equated himself to both Christ and to martyrdom. So we'll go on to the next part here then. The Pope said that the Acts of the Apostles also recounts the emergence of some problems within the Christian community. There have always been problems, the Pope said. The apostles had to determine how to harmonize the differences that coexisted within the early Christian community without conflicts or splits happening, he said. The apostles began a process of discernment which consists in considering the difficulties well and seeking solutions together, Pope Francis explained. They find a way out in dividing up the various tasks for peaceful growth of the entire ecclesial body and avoiding neglecting both the race of the gospel and the care of the poorest members. Well, he's really comparing apples to oranges here. The early church, there were differences, obviously. They were unsure about certain things. They were starting from scratch. Although they were led by the Holy Spirit, still they had to work through it. And that really isn't true anymore. We've inherited the deposit of faith and the tradition of faith, and it's not to change, because we know God doesn't change. He doesn't want his church to change. The church is to call the world to itself and not to become part of the world, which is what is happening under this Pope. And the other point here is that this whole thing about seeking solutions together, the solution to all this is to get rid of all the modernism in the church and get back to the way the church had been for almost 2,000 years before, the last 50 or 60 or 70 years, because the church has been infiltrated by Satan, and it's really playing out nowadays. And the vast majority of people don't see this yet, but eventually, hopefully they will. Hopefully Pope Francis will take it so far that people will start saying, whoa, what is going on here? But as far as we're concerned, we need to hold the line, because you can't change the truth. Once you change it, it's no longer the truth. So we can't be seeking solutions together with modernists. That's a Cardinal Kupich thing, all right? So, because he was really into that for a while, and he probably still is, but he was talking about it for a while, seeking solutions together. And, that just can't be done. All right, well, I think that's it. And hopefully this has been of some value to you. All right, so we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.